I'm going to be speaking with Vince Opra, who went from $0 at around 14 or 15 to making multiple six figures online. He has a YouTube channel with just over 200,000 subscribers, and he has a lot of value that he's going to share in this video. So there should be timestamps. If you scroll through the play bar, you'll see which topics he talks about. And I think that if you're a video editor, you're going to find this very useful. Can you go through like the highlights, maybe the lowlights of when you first started even getting into the space, like video editing, all the way to like where you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was around probably 13, 14, I kind of got like at first interested in the idea of like business, making money, stuff like that. And at that point, I already had also an interest in kind of like video editing. So I tried out a couple different business models like affiliate marketing. I wanted to try drop shipping, but I didn't really have the funds for it. And either ways, like I tried doing just organic drop shipping, didn't work. Tried the affiliate stuff, didn't really work for me. And the only skill I really built at that point, I was like 14, 15, was video editing. And the way I got into it was I was a pretty big like gamer. So I really enjoyed playing, video games. We played a lot of like CSGO with my friends, Team Fortress 2, Minecraft, stuff like that. And we would kind of make gameplay videos because we really enjoyed watching them, right? So naturally, we kind of wanted to like imitate some of these big streamers and YouTubers we were watching. So anyways, that's how I learned the basics of editing. I'm not going to go too deep into, that whole process. For the most part, I was kind of self-taught and also just learned some things from friends. First, I started out with like Camtasia Studio, then we did like Sony Vegas, and then got into like Premiere Pro a little bit later. And that was also the time once I got more into editing and more into business as well. It was around the time where Peter McKinnon and some of these like OG filmmaking YouTubers were really popping off. And the way it kind of all started is like I really just wanted to make money to buy more filmmaking gear, to upgrade my computer, stuff like that. Like I was like 14, 15 at that point, right? And I reached out to basically like a ton of people on Instagram, a ton of podcasters more specifically. And I asked them, hey, like, would you be against me making some free clips for you? And I messaged, I don't know, like 100 people. A couple of them got back to me and I did some free work for like 6, 7 people.
Like
And for
short
one of
form?
them, yeah, short form. And this was like way back to like, I mean, at this point, 5 years ago. So it was really when short form wasn't even really a thing. The way I got the idea for it was I watched Gary Vee in the very early stages. And I mean, Gary Vee was kind of one of the pioneers, right? When it came to making short form content, because he was already posting like 60-second clips on Instagram with captions, but it was in the square format actually. So like those of you guys who remember, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so we started out with that. And I worked for this guy. His name was Omar Elatar. He had a like pretty big podcast in the entrepreneurship space. And by the way, the reason I reached out to him was because like I was already, listening to his podcast. I reached out to people I already kind of knew so I could customize my messages a bit more. Like I could make my messages stand out a bit more. And either ways, I ended up working for free for a whole month for this guy. And then at that point, at the end of it, I was like, hey, I really enjoyed this, but I need to get paid. Like I can't just keep doing this for free because like it was taking up all my free time after I got home from high school. Anyway, so he did end up saying yes to my proposal, which at that point it was $500 per month for daily short form content. So it wasn't like anything crazy. It was like $13, $14 per video. But I was like, hey, that's amazing. Like I'm making like 13 bucks an hour. And for those of you guys who don't know, I come from Hungary, which is like a small country in Central Europe where back then, especially the average wage was like $800 per month or something like that. So like making even 13 bucks an hour was amazing, right?
You're like
So
14, 15, right?
yeah, I was like middle of 15 when I first started working for him for free. And yeah, so I landed my first like paying online client at 15. And I did make like a few $100 here and there before that, just kind of freelancing for like local small shops and like doing a summer internship at like a media company in my city. I was not making much at all. Like, yeah, like literally like $20 a day or something like that. And also it wasn't consistent. So it wasn't like anything tangible. But this was like my first, like $500 a month reoccurring, which felt like the most amount of money ever at 15 years old. And then after that, it kind of like snowballed from there. Because then it was actually a little bit of luck as well, and like good strategy as well, that my first client was a podcaster and that I was making clips for him. Because like through him, a lot of my clips actually got on really big pages like Grant Cardone, Ed Milet, like some of these really big guys who he interviewed. My clips actually got reposted on their pages because like I was making them for the podcaster, right? So for that reason, it became a lot easier to land clients after that because I had a lot of social proof. Like my work was already on these amazing entrepreneurs pages. So I got my next clients after that in the next like 6 months, couple of them from referrals, couple of them from just cold Instagram outreach. And I got up to around 5 to 6K per month when I was like middle of 16, and I did stagnate there for quite a while. Like that was like a very, very comfortable place to be, like 5 grand a month. At 16, 17 in high school, it was like more than I kind of knew what to do with. So I did stagnate there for a while, and it took me, I think, over a year to kind of transition into more like a proper agency, hiring my first editors and getting myself out from the operations. So yeah, that's the very beginning. Yeah.
So that transition from $500 per month to making like 5 to 6K a month at 16, right? From like 15 to 16.
Yeah.
So like how many clients do you think you had like when you were making 5 to 6K a month?
Yeah. So the way it kind of looked like was, the first client was like $500 a month. And then I got, I think, my first 1K client after that from like outreach. And then I was pretty full at that point in terms of capacity. Like I didn't really want to take on more clients, but I did get a good referral from my first client. And I was like, dude, I don't even want to do a call with this guy. I don't have the time for it. I just don't know how I'm going to, fit it into my schedule. But he was like, hey, just do it. Just say a number that's like so out there for you that you think he'll say no. And I think I gave him like this huge breakdown of like everything I would do, blah, blah, blah. And then I pitched him like 2.5K or like something like that, maybe close to 3K a month retainer. And I mean, looking back, no shit, he said yes because it was still pretty cheap, but he said yes to it, which I was like mind blown by. Like, I remember when that guy said yes and that deal closed, I remember I like ran to my parents' room. I was like, Mom, Dad, you won't believe this. I just got someone to like pay me 3 grand a month. It was like unreal. But you can see like it added up pretty quickly, right? Because like, $500 client, then $1,000 one, that's 1.5, then almost a 3K client, then that's almost like 4.5 as well. And then I think I had one more at like 1.5 or something like that. Obviously, I don't remember the exact specifics at this point because it was like quite a while ago, but it was kind of like that. And it happened, yeah, in the matter of like 4 to 6 months, I would say. But it was also probably like a little bit of it was like beginner's luck and timing because like it was very early in the game, with editing. So I wouldn't say like it's definitely possible, especially if you have the right guidance to progress that fast. But like I was like, a 16-year-old kid with not much experience, just like a lot of hustle. So I was also kind of in the right time, right place with the timing. But hey, I mean, I still work my ass off there, so I'm not gonna discredit that. But it was definitely an element of that as well.
What method of outreach did you use to get those clients?
I was just using Instagram DMs for the most part. So like whenever I could, I would just send like a quick opener. I would send some examples of my work from other pages even. I tried even like voice memo outreach. I tried all type of stuff. And at that point, it wasn't really like anything super professional. Like I wasn't really tracking my numbers. I wasn't split testing messages, like all this stuff that we teach in my community now. Like I wasn't doing that, but it still worked because it was quite early. And also I just did like a good amount of volume, right? But nowadays, if you want to get good results with cold outreach, you definitely need to focus more on being very precise with your messaging, and also like in terms of how you structure it. You need to split test as well different messages. You need to try to show some proof and credibility in your opener. So there's a lot more that goes into it, I think, now, if you want to get really good results. But that was pretty much it. Like it was just Instagram in the beginning and then later on transition into email as well.
And would you recommend working for free at first if you're like just starting out as a video editor?
I mean, it depends on where you are in life, right? Because, like, if you're someone who's right now in school, you're still living with your parents, stuff like that, you really don't have a rush to make money. Like, you're just a kid, right? So, I don't think there's anything wrong with working for free ever, actually. Not even if you're just a kid, but even if you're older. Like, I still don't think there's anything wrong with that. The only thing I would say is you don't want to work for free unnecessarily long. So all I'm gonna say is, like, in the beginning, if you don't have a portfolio yet, it's okay to work for free to build that up, but be intentional with who you work for free, and also be intentional with what kind of work you're doing, and try to get something out of that free work period, like get a testimonial or a good like transformational result out of it by the end, so then you can use it to actually make it easier for yourself to get the next client off.
So you said this is up until 16, you got to like 5 to 6K per month. And now how old are you?
I'm 20. Yeah.
You're 20. Okay, so
20 and a half. Yeah.
from 16 to 20, like what was that like? And where are you now compared to where you were at 16?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a lot has changed, right? For a while, I was just fully focused on the agency for like around the 2 year period, from like 16 to 18. And I actually went out there and built like a really good team, hired multiple editors, manager, assistants, actually got it up to like a low multi six figure run rate. It was good, like, don't get me wrong, the creative agency model was kind of what I can thank like everything I have for, because it was something that was not limiting me. It's just like it got me to a point where I had the location freedom, had the time freedom, I created the team, I was working with great clients, I could travel, I could do all that stuff I wanted. But at the same time, after some point, I realized it wasn't necessarily going to be what I want to do forever. And not because there's anything wrong with the business model, it's simply because I just started like getting interest in other things as well, like other kind of businesses. Because I was working with the agency with a lot of people who were in the info space, who were in like personal branding space. So naturally, I also got very interested in that, and I started documenting my journey more. I started building out my own YouTube channel as well simultaneously, right? And so I think at like 18, I slowly started making this shift where I put a bit more attention on my personal brand, my YouTube, creating content, building an audience, and then later on creating products around that as well. And a bit less focus on just trying to grow the agency as big as humanly possible. So there is that, but that's kind of where we went from there. And in terms of like numbers wise, I mean, we're doing probably around 10 times more revenue wise than we were, back then. But also I still feel like there's like so much room for improvement and so much to grow. And I'm certain like we'll get there relatively quickly.
So do you mind going into maybe not specific, but like just general numbers of how much you're making and where it's coming from?
Things fluctuate, like, and also there is revenue and cash collected, right? So like a lot of people talk big numbers with revenue and all that, and then there's a big difference between profit. So I don't think there's much actually that the viewer gets out of it, but it's in the mid six figure a year range, right? So like around $500,000 a year run rate is kind of where we are at right now. And in terms of the split, it's definitely a smaller split of it is from my personal clients at this point, and probably the rest of it is kind of split between like ad revenue on my YouTube channel, sponsorships, and then our own program, which helps other freelancers and agency owners. So what I would say is like a realistic aim that you can achieve as a really good freelance editor without kind of going insane is, doing, let's just say 6 to 10K a month profit for yourself. Like that's totally doable as a freelance editor. You can probably even do a bit more, but that's like a pretty, good level to get to. And if you want to build a much bigger business than that, you will probably need to think about starting more of like a content agency and hiring an actual team, hiring other people to help you with the service delivery. And then, there is no real cap on your income. You can definitely scale that business model up to the 50 to 100K a month range even. Not easily at all. I'm not going to say that it's easy, but it's definitely doable, probably even more than that. But it definitely gets a lot harder around that range. So yeah.
Yeah, obviously as a video editor, it's pretty hard to get to the range where you're at. And 6 to 10K is actually a lot of people will be happy with just living off of that.
Exactly.
For the people who don't know like what actually a content agency is, can you like quickly explain what that business model is?
Yeah, exactly. So it's basically just a service-based business where the service that you are selling is kind of like content creation of some sort, right? So that can be short form content, that can be long form content, it can even be ads or UGC creation, right? Whatever it is, and you are selling it as a monthly, or not even necessarily monthly, but just like as a service to other businesses and personal brands who want to utilize that service, right? And you are selling it for a monthly subscription fee. Let's just call it 2,000 a month. You're delivering a set amount of videos for a client and a set service. And then you also hire some other people for your agency to help deliver that service. So you might hire a video editor who will deliver that service on your behalf. And you're kind of, the person connecting those two people. And you should also have other ways of adding value to the transaction. I don't like the idea of just being a middleman, but I mean, at the end of the day, that's kind of what it is, right? Like you are profiting from the difference between what the client pays you and what you pay your editors who deliver the work for it. And this is not anything new. Like the agency model like existed for a ton of time, or firms, if you want to call it, right? Like consulting firms, whatever, like they've been around for ages, but that's kind of how it works. And if you're wondering like, why would someone pay a content agency, let's say 2,000 a month, to make them, let's just call it 8 YouTube videos, for example? Well, it's because a lot of businesses, want to get clients from social media. They want to get leads. They want to get applications. So if a client for a business is worth a lot of money, well, then they can afford to spend money on advertising through the form of organic marketing on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, whatever the platform or the type of content may be. And they make a return on investment as well if it's a good like collaboration and you get good results.
So, would you recommend for a video editor who maybe this video editor is like a couple months, maybe even a year into it, and they're just struggling to get clients, like they blend in with the other editors? What would you recommend?
To be honest, the biggest thing is you as an editor, for the most part, you are actually selling yourself, not even just the edits. I mean, yes, your work does need to be, top tier, especially in the competitive market that we are in. But at the end of the day, the thing that most editors lack is kind of the business skills and acumen that comes with selling your stuff, right? So what I mean is the way you present yourself online, the way you use social media to actually showcase your own skill sets as well. Let's just use this scenario, right? If I was starting again from scratch as an editor, I had the skill set already, but I had nothing else. Here's what I would kind of do. I would, number one, start building out a portfolio. I would like make just free edits for some influential people and edit some clips that have the potential to go viral on my own page. And I would post before and after edits. I would post editing breakdowns on Instagram, on TikTok, all of these, right? And try to grow my own page as well. Then you want to set up like a landing page with a Calendly form as well, where people can basically click on it. They can see your work. They can see the kind of results you are able to get. And for even if it's just for yourself, right? Or even if it's not like huge numbers based, but like at least the transformation that you can make between a raw video and like fully edited one, and set up that landing page properly. Then you go ahead, send people to that, and you also simultaneously start like reaching out to people, even providing them like some free edits, even cutting up some of their old footage and then sending them a short form clip or whatever it is as like a gift with your outreach. So you're providing value first, you're showcasing your work and your capabilities on your own page. So you're practicing what you preach. And then on the actual calls, once you manage to set up a call with someone, you want to make sure to go through like a very specific framework we teach, which is kind of like consultative selling. So you're not out there just talking about yourself, how good you can edit, all of that. No, what you want to do is like actually analyze the client situation and then see what's the missing link there. How could you actually get them better results with social media, and then sell them what they actually need, the kind of videos they need, the amount of them, and all of this. And I know this sounds overwhelming because like you do need to learn how the platforms work. You do need to get good the actual skill of social media and scripting and all of this. But I mean, that's the only way to go about it. If you want to be a highly paid and highly sought after editor, you need to get really good at not only editing, but also how to use those videos to get more attention and clients for your prospects, right? To sum it up, like showcase your work. So don't just talk about it, show what you can do as well. Then make a landing page and structure it well. Work for people for free in the beginning. Even use that in your outreach because it lowers people's guard a lot. Get your first initial clients, even if it's a free trial one, get some testimonials, start reaching out to more and more people, hit daily consistent high numbers. You'll start landing meetings, take people through like a consultative selling style call on those meetings and then close them at the end. And that's how I would get my first, few clients in the beginning.
Right. So like personal brand and also proof and portfolio is basically what's going to separate the successful editors and then basically the editors who don't really get any clients.
To some extent, yes. I mean, obviously there is outliers who are just really good at networking or who are so good at their craft that they don't even need to create content because they will just thrive off of referrals. So that's also a viable way if you're just so much better than everyone else that you just get so many referrals. But for most people, I do think that we are kind of going into this age where if you want to stand out, you do need to kind of show your face. You do need to show like the kind of person you are as well to some extent. Because like the problem is there are a lot of editors who can create good content, but there are not many reliable editors who are actually good to work with. So you definitely want to come across as one of those. And if you don't have those character traits yet, then you need to work on becoming one of those people.
I actually wanted to move on to a question that one of my viewers had, which was related to your agency that you have. I know you're not like too involved in it anymore, but he wants to know how you get clients for your agency.
Yeah, so it's a mix of things, right? At this point, like I will talk about kind of like the agency my partner has that I'm kind of part of as well, right? Because like that's the big one with a lot of clients. So we are pretty like split up with the ways we get clients because we are kind of more scaled. So in the beginning, I recommend just starting out with one platform to get clients or like focusing on one main thing. And then you can branch out as you kind of max one thing out, right? But at this point, we get clients from referrals, we get clients from emails, we get clients from LinkedIn and even Twitter and Instagram, right? So like it's multiple methods. But yeah, in the beginning, I mean, look at the niche you are going after. So I definitely recommend niching down to some extent. And then once you figure that out, like who you're actually helping, then you want to figure out where do those people hang out? Do they spend more time like looking at their emails? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they mainly checking their Instagram DMs? And then once you figure that out, then you can, double down on that method until it starts working. And then, yeah, you can start with cold methods in the beginning, like cold messages. If you do it the right way, it still works. Like, yes, it doesn't work as easily as it did like a few years ago, but don't let people tell you like, oh, you can only get clients with ads. You can only get clients with this new fancy method, whatever. Because like they are only telling you that because they are trying to sell you their new way of doing it. Like you got to always look at intention, right? And yeah, you can start with one of those like quote unquote cold methods. Just pick one, get really good at it. Like measure your outreach, measure the messages you send. Like if you send out, 200 with this variation, 200 with this variation, split test which one gets you more replies, which one gets you more booked calls, which one gets you more clients. And then just keep improving on your script, keep improving on your approach. And then also simultaneously, you can start putting out some content as well on your own page. Definitely don't make that probably the main focus, but start building that out as well, because inbound takes a lot more time to build out, and building a personal brand again takes a lot of time to build out. So that's kind of what I would say. And also there is no such thing as best outreach method. That's one of the most common like myths people have, is they ask like, oh, what's the best outreach method? If someone just gives you like a answer immediately to that, like, oh, just do this, then that means they probably don't know what they're doing, because it's so situation dependent. Like I said, it depends on where your ideal customers hang out, and even depends from country to country. Like, some people will say like, oh, cold calling is the best way to get clients. And then there are some countries where you're legally not even allowed to cold call. So like you gotta, look at the specific situation you're in. And by the way, that's why I'm personally a pretty big fan of coaching, educational programs, stuff like that, is because if it's personalized advice, it's going to be a lot more effective than just getting like general advice from a YouTube video. And, there's nothing wrong with that. We gotta start somewhere, but that can be one of the main downfalls of like the mainstream business videos, is because it's not situation specific to the person who's watching it. So you might get kind of misled pretty easily because it's just like broad and general advice, because that's how you can appeal to the masses, right?
So if you're looking to get better at video editing, of course, you can for free on YouTube. There's tons of good resources. But if you want more personalized help and just like a community of video editors, then the first link in the description is going to be to videoeditors.io, which is a group with me and Vince in it, and also more really great video editors and more courses, as well as like a bunch of assets and a ton of other stuff that I explain in the video once you click that link. So go ahead and check that out.